If you're finishing every training session completely exhausted, if every drill is full speed, if you're trying to touch the ball as fast as possible because you think that's how elite players train, you might actually be slowing down your improvement. That sounds backwards, doesn't it? Because football is a fast game. So naturally, you'd think the fastest way to get better is to practice everything at match speed. But here's the problem. Most players confuse training fast with learning fast. They're different skills. One makes you tired. The other makes you dangerous. Have you ever watched a player in training who looks incredible? Quick feet. Sharp turns. Hundreds of touches. Everything looks intense. Then match day arrives. Suddenly their first touch is loose. They don't see obvious passes. They panic under pressure. Their decisions become rushed. The strange part is they worked harder than everyone else. So why didn't it translate? Because they spent weeks rehearsing speed without improving quality. And if you keep making that mistake, you'll eventually hit a plateau where no matter how much extra training you do, your game barely changes. In this video, I'm going to explain why slowing down, at the right moments, is one of the fastest ways to become a better footballer. Not because slower football wins matches, but because slower learning builds faster players. And once you understand the difference, your training sessions will start producing improvements you can actually feel on match day. Think about how most players train. They grab a ball and immediately start moving as quickly as possible. Fast dribbling. Fast cone drills. Fast passing. Fast shooting. Everything is a race. If a drill looks slow, they assume it's easy. If they're not breathing heavily, they assume it isn't working. Football culture has convinced us that intensity equals improvement. But that's only true imagine trying to write with your opposite hand. Would moving the pen faster help? Of course not. You'd actually slow down first. You'd pay attention to the movement. You'd notice where your fingers are. You'd correct mistakes before repeating them. Football skills work the same way. Every touch, every body shape, every scan, every pass is a movement pattern your brain is trying to build. When you rush through repetitions before your brain understands the movement, you're not creating better habits. You're simply repeating flawed ones faster. That's why so many players spend years training but still make the same mistakes. Not because they lack motivation. Not because they aren't talented. Because they're practicing mistakes at full speed. Here's another misconception. Players often think elite footballers always train at maximum intensity. Watch closely. The best players constantly change gears. Sometimes they're explosive. Should I shield? Turn. Play one touch. Dribble. When everything happens too quickly during practice, your brain doesn't have enough time to process what actually caused success or failure. You miss the lesson. You remember the result. That's dangerous. Suppose you lose the ball. Most players simply think, I need to be quicker. But maybe speed wasn't the issue. Maybe they never scanned. Maybe their body shape closed off half the pitch. Maybe their first touch invited pressure. Maybe they received standing flat instead of sideways. Those tiny details disappear when training becomes one long sprint. Improvement happens when feedback is clear. And feedback only becomes clear when you create enough space to notice it. Think of your training like watching game footage. If you watch highlights at double speed, you'll miss the movements that actually created the goal. Training works exactly the same way. Sometimes you need to slow the film down. Not forever. Just long enough to understand why something works. Once your brain recognizes the pattern consistently, then you increase the speed. That's how real learning compounds. Not by adding chaos. By adding understanding first. Lesson 1, slow down before you speed up. Here's a rule that can completely change your training. Never perform a movement faster than you can perform it correctly. Notice I didn't say perfectly. Correctly. There's a huge difference. Let's say you're working on receiving across your body. Instead of firing 10 rushed passes against a wall as hard as possible, reduce the speed. Focus on 3 things. Scan before the ball arrives. Open your body. Guide the first touch into the space you actually want to attack. At first, this feels almost too easy. That's normal. Because your brain finally has enough attention to notice what it's doing. After 5 or 10 perfect repetitions, increase the pace slightly. Maintain the quality. Then speed up again. If quality drops, reduce the speed. This creates what I call a quality ladder. You don't jump straight to match speed. You earn it. Think about learning a new skill move. The players who master it fastest aren't the ones who perform 50 messy attempts. They're the ones who perform 20 clean repetitions before adding pressure, defenders, and speed. The same principle applies to finish. Lesson 2, pause after your mistakes instead of escaping them. Here's something almost nobody does. They stop. The moment they lose possession in training, they immediately grab another ball and try again. It feels productive. But they just skipped the most valuable 5 seconds of the session. Those 5 seconds contain the answer. Every mistake leaves behind evidence. Why did the touch bounce away? Why did the pass miss? Why were you off balance? Why didn't you see the runner? If you instantly restart the drill, your brain never investigates the mistake. It only escapes it. Instead, begin treating every error like a coach giving you free information. Pause. Replay it mentally. Identify one specific cause. Not 5. Just 1. Maybe your standing foot was too close to the ball. Maybe you received square instead of side-on. Maybe you stared at the ball instead of scanning. Now repeat the action immediately with that one correction in mind. That's how mistakes become improvements instead of repetitions. The best learners aren't the players who make the fewest mistakes. They're the players who extract the most information from every mistake. And that only happens when they stop rushing through their training. Because improvement isn't measured by how many repetitions you complete. Lesson 3, train your brain at the same speed you want to play. Here's something that separates players who look technical from players who actually dominate games. The best footballers don't just move quickly. They recognize situations quickly. Think about a midfielder receiving the ball with 2 opponents closing in. To everyone watching, it looks like he reacted instantly. But in reality, the decision started before the ball ever reached him. He scanned. He noticed where the pressure was coming from. He identified the free teammate. He already knew his next action. That's why the touch looked effortless. Now compare that to how most players train. They place cones in a straight line. They know exactly where they're going. Exactly where they're turning. Exactly which foot they'll use. There are no decisions. Only movement. The problem is football isn't about repeating movements. It's about selecting the right movement at the right time. So here's a simple upgrade to almost every drill. Add a decision. Lesson 4, separate learning sessions from performance sessions. One of the biggest mistakes ambitious players make is trying to improve and prove themselves at the same time. Every session becomes a test. Every touch has to look impressive. Every mistake feels like failure. But learning doesn't work like that. Imagine you're trying to improve your weak foot. If you're constantly worried about looking good, you'll subconsciously switch back to your stronger foot whenever things get difficult. You'll protect your ego instead of developing your ability. Elite players understand that training has different purposes. Some sessions are for learning. Some sessions are for performing. During a learning session, your focus isn't on looking smooth. It's on experimenting. Making corrections. Slowing things down. Accepting mistakes. Building a better movement. During a performance session, small-sided games, intense team training, match simulations, you try to execute everything at game speed. Both are important. But if every session becomes a performance session, you'll stop taking the risks required to improve. Lesson 5, finish fast, but earn the speed. Now here's the part many players misunderstand. This video isn't telling you to train slowly forever. Football is still played at incredible speed. Eventually, your training has to match that reality. But speed should be the reward, not the starting point. Think of building a house. You don't begin with the roof. You build the foundation first. Then the walls. Then everything else. Training works exactly the same way. Start by learning the movement. Then make it consistent. Then add pressure. Then increase speed. Then add fatigue. Finally, put it into realistic match situations. Each layer prepares you for the next. If you skip straight to maximum intensity, the foundation stays weak. And weak foundations always crack under pressure. So don't judge your training by how exhausted you feel. Judge it by how much cleaner your actions become. So what should your next training session actually look like? Instead of rushing into high-speed drills, spend the first part of your session focusing on quality. Choose one specific skill. Not 5. 1. Perform it slowly enough that every repetition has a purpose. Pay attention to your body position. Your first touch. Your balance. Your scanning. If you make a mistake, don't immediately move on. Pause. Figure out why it happened. Correct one thing. Repeat it. Once you're consistently executing the movement well, increase the pace slightly. If the quality stays high, increase it again. Eventually, you'll reach match speed naturally. Finish your session with exercises that force you to apply the skill under pressure. Small-sided games. 1 versus 1 situations. Quick passing combinations. Decision-making drills. This final stage teaches your brain how to use the skill when the game becomes chaotic. That's the progression. Learn slowly. Refine carefully. Finish fast. Repeat that process every week, and your improvements won't just stay on the training ground. They'll start appearing in matches when they matter most. The players who improve the fastest aren't always the most talented. They aren't always the strongest. Or the quickest. They're the players who refuse to waste repetitions. Every touch teaches them something. Every mistake becomes feedback. Every session has a clear purpose. That's the identity you should build. Become the player who values quality before quantity. Understanding before intensity. Learning before showing off. Because eventually, everyone reaches a point where simply working harder isn't enough. The players who keep improving are the ones who start working smarter. And here's the best part. Once those habits are built, you won't have to think about them anymore. The scanning becomes automatic. The first touch becomes cleaner. The game starts to feel slower, not because your opponent slowed down, but because your preparation finally caught up with the speed of the game. That's what real improvement feels like. Not flashy. Not instant. But impossible to ignore. If this video changed the way you think about training, don't let it end here. The next time you step onto the pitch, resist the urge to rush through every repetition. Slow down just enough to understand what you're doing. Then earn the speed. You'll be surprised how quickly your game begins to change. And if you're serious about becoming a smarter, more complete footballer, subscribe to the channel. Every week, you'll learn the hidden habits, tactical concepts, and training principles that separate average players from the ones everyone notices on match day. Train with intention. Play with confidence. And I'll see you in the next video.